Hey y'all, this is Travis with Hoss Tools, and this is a little segment we do called Garden Goodies. It's just a compilation of short videos that we shoot on our phone throughout the week as we're walking through the gardens, harvesting things, weeding, doing whatever we have to do to maintain a vegetable garden so we can grow our own food. I really hope you enjoy it, and if you have any questions, always put those in the comments below and we'll try to answer them for you. I want to give you guys an update on our Thornless Blackberries that we planted back, I think it was late last year in December or so. This is a variety called Arkansas Prime Freedom, Thornless Blackberry variety, and we've got a bed here that's probably 50 or 60 foot long. And we did a YouTube video when we planted these guys showing how we did it. We've got some 15 mil drip irrigation there buried along there. Actually 2 rows on each side, so 2 rows going that way, and or two lines of that 15 mil tape going that way. And that's been really helpful when we've had some dry spells to keep these guys watered and going. We've got them mulched with wheat straw, and we can see we got some weeds popping up in there. It's probably time for another application of wheat straw. Now, when I got these plants from Ison's nursery, the instructions said, when the branches get about 3 foot long or so, I think it was 36 inches they said, to come in here and prune them so you get a more bushy growing habit, and keep doing that for the first year or so. And I've already did that one time, and now we're getting some runners there. They're getting on out there pretty long, so I need to come in here and prune them once again. This is a variety that you don't have to trellis. You can trellis if you want to, if you just want to let these things grow and grow, but we're going to prune them and kind of keep more of a bushy growth habit. They should be nice and full by the time next spring comes around. We did get a few blackberries off these guys this year, just a few, but we weren't expecting a whole lot as far as the first year production goes. Well, the plants are looking really awesome. Really happy with this variety so far. I think of all the 30 or so plants we planted, we only lost one, which is pretty good survival rate in my opinion. And we'll just kind of keep pruning these guys back, get a nice full plant, hopefully loaded down with those thornless blackberries come next spring. The ones we did try tasted pretty good. They were nice and tasty, nice big blackberries. Now we get wild blackberries around here. They'll grow in them pine trees in the woods there, and the wild ones with thorns are a little sweeter than these big ones here that you get on these thornless plants, but these are so much easier to pick than those thorny ones are there. So that's why we like to plant some of these, and this is a great thing to have on your homestead and just keep producing year after year. They don't require hardly any maintenance. Just trim them back every now and then, keep you some straw or mulch down there, and if you want to be able to keep them fed, and also maybe inject some fertilizer every now and then, put you some drip tape on them, some 15 mil tape, which will last a long time. So that's our Arkansas Prime Freedom. Any of you out there are growing this variety or any other thornless varieties, tell me how your blackberries are doing or how they perform for you this year. Now, I reserve the right to change my mind, and I'm subject to change it by the end of the year if I try some more varieties. But currently, as we speak, this variety of sunflower here, this Joker, is my favorite variety of sunflower. Look at those guys there, aren't they just beautiful? Nice blooms in there, just thick in there, and beautiful color on them with some red, almost burgundy, yellow on the outside, and just loaded down with blooms, and there's still a lot more blooms to come. You can see there a lot more at the base there. So these guys are just getting started. Now, don't get me wrong, these chocolate cherries over here on the other side of the plot are also really pretty. You see one of those right there, and This chocolate cherry is actually our most popular variety of sunflower. This is our best seller. But for me so far this year, this joker is #1 on my list. And our bees have been in here working these things. There's one of my honeybees right there doing its thing, feeding these bees. Give some nice ground cover, but also feeding them bees, which is what we want to do. There's another guy right there doing his thing. And there's plenty for them to eat out here, and gonna be plenty for them to eat for at least another few weeks. I don't know exactly how long these things are going to keep blooming. I know at some point they'll probably stop, but we're still getting a lot of bloom development there, and just couldn't be more happier with this variety. Now, one thing that's been interesting to me, the sunflowers will normally orient themselves towards the sun during the day, so they'll be facing the sun. The sun is back behind me here right now. It's in the east, and then it's going to set in the west over that direction. So they're facing the east right now this morning, and usually what you'll see them do is kind of turn and then face the other direction as the sun moves over the sky and towards the west. But these right here really don't move. They just kind of face this direction all the time. And I don't know if it has anything to do with that barn right there providing some kind of shade that's kind of messing them up, but you know, usually you'll see the heads kind of turn as the day progresses, but these right here really haven't done so. They just kind of face this way all the time. I kind of wish they would turn a little bit. They face the road so all my neighbors could see them as pretty as I can here. But either way, nice little spread there, and couldn't be happier with this cover crop of sunflowers. And I've done a cover crop of sunflowers before, but I hadn't done one until now this year. I'm definitely going to be doing more of this in the future. This is just nice to see when you walk out the garden, have a plot full of these guys. So if you watch a lot of our videos and our row by row garden show, you hear us talk a lot about sun hemp as a cover crop, and there's just so many good benefits to it. And sun hemp is actually our most popular warm season cover crop. You can see we're back here on the back side of Greg's garden. Snuck back here to do a couple videos, and he's got some that is full grown. Some of this is on up 8 foot tall or so, just now starting to bloom. And this stuff is really, really pretty when it blooms. It'll make these nice, pretty yellow blooms there at the top, and you'll see it across this entire expanse right here. He's got a decent sized little spot planted of it here, some back over there, and I think he's going to use this for some of our seed crops next year, some of the stuff we grow ourselves. But so many benefits to the sun hemp. Number one, you get weed suppression. You can see how thick that stuff is in there. So nice shaded out weed suppression there. Sun hemp is a legume, so it's like planting a pea almost, and that means it fixes nitrogen in the soil there and give you some good nitrogen addition. It fixes this atmospheric nitrogen and converts it into the soil. That's always a good thing, add nutrients to the soil. Gonna add a lot of biomass when you cut it in. And sun hemp also gives you some nematode suppression. So this is kind of the wonder cover crop, does a little bit of it all. The only thing about sun hemp is you gotta have some decent equipment when you go to cut it in. I can barely tear that off. You look at them stalks there, they get kind of woody. Can't even hardly bend them. Woody and fibrous when they get on up tall like that. And so you need a pretty decent size mower, brush mower, something like that. You're not going to be able to cut these with a push mower like I showed you with that sorghum Sudan grass. You need a brush mower. I don't even know if a regular old ride lawnmower could get in there and cut this stuff. So you need something pretty heavy duty to cut it down. But if you do have something like that, you should be growing sun hemp. Like I said, just does great things for your soil, and when it all goes in full bloom, you haven't seen much prettier than a big cover crop of sun hemp there. So how do you cover crop on a small scale if you don't have any fancy equipment like a flail mower or a big tractor and a brush mower? We get a lot of people asking us that question. You know, all I've got is a little push mower, maybe a weed eater, or maybe I like to do it manually with a scythe. And you can cover crop even if that's all you got, and we do a lot of that here. So this is a little push mower, not self-propelled, just manually push it, and it's got a mulching deck on it, which is important for when you're mowing cover crops, because you don't want to blow all that good organic matter out here into your yard. You want to leave it in this plot so it can feed that soil there. So you want to make sure you got something with a mulching deck on it. Of course, a weed eater is just going to chop it and drop it. A scythe will too. And what we do is we just set this thing on its tallest setting, and we just come in here and we cut it down. And in the case of the sorghum Sudan grass, we cut it down and it's about 2 foot tall, and it just keep growing back, and we'll cut it again when it gets 2 foot tall again, and we're just adding all that good stuff, all this good stuff here to the soil. And that's just going to make our soil nice, workable, condition it real well, provide some good ground cover. So you don't need fancy equipment to cover crop. All you need is a push mower or a weed eater, and you can keep mowing it or let it, you know, in the case of some buckwheat, maybe let it grow like this over here. Let it grow till it flowers, cut it down with a mower, and then you're ready to turn it over and plant something here. You can come in here and cultivate this or tarp it, whatever you want to do. But you can cover crop on any scale. It doesn't have to be a big garden. It can be a very small garden. You could even do this in raised beds with a weed eater, or, you know, a hoe, a real sharp hoe, whatever you want to use to chop it down, whatever your weapon of choice is. So everyone can enjoy the benefits of a cover crop on their soil, the weed suppression, you know, the organic matter addition, nematode suppression in some cases, breaking those pest cycles. This is going to really help with, you know, squash bugs, vine borers, and those pesky pests in the future. This helps break those reproductive cycles so you don't just get those populations booming all summer long. And next year when you grow stuff in these plots where you had the cover crops, man, your pest pressure is going to be a lot less than it would be if you didn't do it. Back over here in Greg's garden, snuck back here again to see what he's got going on. And I'll be honest, I didn't know what this was at first. I can tell it's some type of cucurbit, almost looks like a pumpkin growing out there. And based on my knowledge of kind of how this stuff goes, looks like it's getting kind of towards the end of the road here, and he might be getting close to harvest time. I don't know when he planted this and how far along it is, but there's a few signs out here. It looks like we might be getting close. We see them plants kind of dying off a little bit. That's always a kind of initial sign. So I didn't know what this was until I looked over here on this fence row and saw them hanging. Let me sneak in here a little bit. And these are gourds here. So see that kind of bumpy looking gourd there? There's another one right there. They're loaded along this fence line right here. I'm not sure that he planted them along the fence line. I think he just planted them in this plot, but they just kind of climbed over this way. And compared to what I'm seeing out in the plot to what I'm seeing on this fence row here, I would say these things prefer to be trellised. He maybe could give you a little more insight on that, but there seems to be more of them along on this fence line than there is out there in that big plot there. So this is our Buell gourd, also known as a bowl gourd, and I got that bumpy appearance there. And when these things dry out, you can cut them in half and make some nice little bowls out of them. I'm sure there's lots of other cool artsy craftsy things you could find to do with them. But we're growing, we're just gonna make some bowls to keep in our camper and stuff. So these things, as they mature and as they dry out, they'll turn brown. That guy right there is pretty dense. So these look like they're getting close, not all the way there. Those stems still look a little green, and he's a little more of a gourd expert than I am. But I think with these, you may just kind of let them dry out here on the plant, and then I guess we'll put them in a storage, kind of like we do our winter squash, and we can cut them in half and have us some nice bowls. We're gonna have more bowls than we know what to do with. I'm sure we can share the wealth with the neighbors on around. Maybe we'll have a few extra bowls. We can do a little giveaway on our row by row show. But these things are pretty cool, and seems to have made a nice little, you know, midsummer, early fall crop here. So this variety appears to be able to handle the summer heat pretty well, and we'll just kind of stay tuned and let Greg give us another update when these guys get closer to harvesting. Well, our buckwheat is in full bloom. See all those pretty white flowers all over the place out there. That means it's getting close to time to doing something with this. We talk a lot about the benefits of cover crops, and one of the kind of side benefits is just these pretty little plots here when they bloom out like this, and all the pollinators and the beneficial insects really love this stuff. There's a little honeybee feeding on it right there. We got all these nice little white blooms here. Now with a cover crop, once it starts blooming like this, you usually got about 2 weeks before you need to do something with it. You can feel on these blooms here and tell there's no viable seeds there yet. So usually it takes several weeks after they start blooming before you don't get any seeds, and we don't want any seeds. We don't want the stuff to re-sow itself, because this is our vegetable garden. This is where we're going to plant more vegetables, so we don't want it to become a weed. So we'll make sure to mow it or incorporate it here within the next few weeks. Got several different options you could do here. You could mow it, till it in. You could mow it. You could tarp it after you mow it, if you weren't going to use the area for a while and just wanted to let the tarp help kind of break everything down and keep it even more weed free. You could crimp it if you had a crimper or a roller or something. Buckwheat is pretty easy to crimp. Buckwheat's one of the easier cover crops to extinguish or terminate, because the stems here, see there, are not very woody at all. They're pretty soft. You can see there, kind of hollow inside. And so this stuff mows really easy. It crimps really easy. It's really easy to get rid of. It's fast growing. And if you were doing cover cropping on a small scale, maybe in raised beds or something, buckwheat is a great one to do. You could take a weed eater and just, you know, knock it down that way. Use a pitchfork or something, digging for it to kind of just turn it over in the soil. In my opinion, it's the easiest one to turn over. And we're going to enjoy all these nice flowers, these blooms. Let the pollinators enjoy them for a few weeks, and then we'll be ready to mow this down. And not sure what we're going to plant here yet, but we're going to mow it down and probably till it in, add some of that organic matter to the soil, and then maybe by that time be time for some fall planting. Maybe some pole beans. Might come in here with some pole beans after this buckwheat.